Let's have a look at the possible hazards when searching. A consideration in relation to handling drugs. So care should be taken when handling suspicious substances, as some chemicals can be absorbed through the skin by the touch, so gloves should always be worn to reduce this risk. Of course, needles and sharp objects. So customers should be asked to remove any items before the search. Weapons is another consideration. So if the weapons may be made, used or adapted to cause injury, even things like ice picks or screwdrivers that may be brought onto a premises, it's important to always prioritize your own safety. So assess whether the individual is offering a weapon or trying to hide it, and just trust your instincts in relation to individuals to what action you may need to take if you discover that. So another hazard of searching is the potential of violence. And so use communication to gauge the person's behavior. So if they start struggling to speak normally or answer questions, they may be planning an attack. They can't do two things at once, can they? So remind them, if you start sensing hostility or reluctance, just remind the person they have got the right to refuse. However, consequences may follow the refusal. So another hazard would be the infectious diseases. So that can be minimized by doing things like self-searching and metal detecting, PPE, etc. So where possible, staff should wear face masks and gloves for their own protection, as well as the safety of the individual being searched. Another hazard is uncooperative clients. If you need to try and minimize uncooperative behavior by remaining professional and fully explaining the reasons for being searched, emphasize that it's not personal and it's part of the site policy. Now, of course, for security officers, employees will have this as part of the employment contract. They have the right to refuse, but of course they may well then be reported. So looking at ways to reduce malicious allegations at you. So you should maintain professionalism. So it's always explain the reason for the search clearly, emphasize that it is a standard procedure, it's not personal, and it is part of the state policy. So you need to avoid false statements. So never make a false statement or misinterpret the situation or misrepresent the situation, as this can lead to legal issues. Be sensitive to the person's feeling, such as like them feeling awkward or embarrassed or potentially becoming aggressive because of the search. Try and refrain from invasive types of actions. So don't reach into people's bags or personal property without consent to prevent allegations of tampering or theft. So this is where if the customer says, well, you could open my bag, they say, well, I'd rather you do it, and you can kind of do it together, watch what they're doing, but you want to try and avoid potential allegations of theft or planting. So where possible, search in pairs. So perform searches in pairs and ensure that the process is captured ideally on CCTV. This not only increases accountability, but also provides for evidence if needed. You should inform the customers about being on CCTV, because if you let them know that their actions are being recorded, this can help reassure them about the process and potentially deter any unacceptable or inappropriate behavior from them. Avoid inappropriate areas of the search. So do not search sensitive areas such as above the bra line or on the groin area. Maintain respect for personal boundaries is essential. So searches of the things like genital areas or body cavities, including the male, are classified as intimate personal searches, which may only be performed by police officers. Use the back of the hands when you're searching. So during the search, use the back of the hands, not the front of the hands, particularly when you're searching down the actual torso and the legs, which are known as the personal areas. And of course, by doing that, it minimizes the risk of being perceived as inappropriate. To maintain respectful communication. So we need to avoid making any types of inappropriate remarks during the search process about the individual they're belonging to. Remember, professionalism is the key. Outer clothing only. So no one should be asked to remove anything more than outer clothing. So for example, things like coats, jackets and bags in public settings. Religious regalia removal. So generally, it is not acceptable for door supervisors to request that somebody remove religious regalia. However, security officers, depending on the site assault instructions, it may be permissible for staff to ask individuals wearing religious regalia or facial coverings to remove them privately in the presence of the gender-appropriate staff. It would, of course, be inappropriate to make such a request in public, and so it's important that staff are trained in cultural sensitivity and be aware of relevant anti-discrimination laws to ensure respectful and legal conduct. So ensure lawful procedures. So make certain that all searches are conducted lawfully to avoid potential litigation and to protect both the security personnel and the organisation.